As two nurses cleaned a male corpse in the morgue, they noticed the wounds on the body had undergone a transformation. They were just about to take photographs for their files when an unthinkable medical miracle occurred, leaving them completely stunned by what they had just witnessed before them. The identity of the deceased was Jonas, an orphan who, as he lacked any formal academic degree, performed only temporary labor in the construction industry to support himself daily. The only source of satisfaction he experienced was his relationship with Anna, a woman who loved him intensely. Phone calls with his girlfriend had become the main reason for joy in a monotonous and routine existence. On that particular day, after finishing his conversation with Anna, Jonas suddenly felt a sharp pain in his head. That ailment had long accompanied him, and he could usually relieve it with a brief rest. At first, Jonas thought about looking for a corner to rest, as he usually did. However, unexpectedly, the structure above him suddenly collapsed, and those present at the scene quickly surrounded him. A few minutes later, an ambulance took him to the hospital, although by then, Jonas was already in critical condition, almost on the verge of death, making it impossible to save him. Later, his body was sent to the morgue. In compliance with health regulations, a superficial cleaning of the body was performed, official photographs were taken, and the death certificate was issued. At that very moment, an unusual phenomenon occurred. Jonas, who had been declared dead, suddenly sat bolt upright. The medical staff stood paralyzed, unable to react. When Jonas awoke, he appeared to be disoriented, driven by an urgent need to escape. He shoved the morgue door open with force and fled. The security guards watching him tried to stop him immediately. With skill, he bypassed the barriers and managed to reach the hospital balcony, from where he jumped without getting hurt, escaping the scene. Sometime later, Jonas returned to the cabin he usually rented and desperately searched for anything he could eat. Once all the food for humans was gone, he even helped himself to the cat's food. At that moment, there was nothing left to eat, so he took a detergent from the cupboard and drank a gulp, believing it was water. Jonas still felt no satiety. He opened a box of laundry detergent and began to ingest it, filling his mouth with soap bubbles. At that moment, he started to experience a slight physical improvement. On the other hand, the news of the supposed resurrection of Jonas caused a great stir. An enigmatic organization observed the photo of his passing and seemed to be planning some action. After thinking it over, Jonas decided to go to Anna to ask for help investigating what happened. Working at the hospital, she could quickly access his information. Jonas knew this was truly extraordinary. To convince her, he immediately showed her the exact spot where he was first wounded. To her astonishment, in just half a day, the wounds on her body disappeared completely. At that moment, Anna had to accept that miracles do exist. According to what Jonas told him, when the doctor announced his death, he remained conscious, only extremely weak. Furthermore, he felt that his body was stronger than before, with a slight tendency to exceed normal limits. As for his resurrection, Anna began to consider it an uncommon phenomenon. Although she still harbored some doubts regarding Jonas's claims, she did not reject them entirely. Instead, he suggested Jonas undergo a brain scan first to verify that the head injury had actually healed as expected by the doctors. Since many of the symptoms Jonas described could have been early signs of cerebral congestion, he decided the best thing to do was confirm exactly what state his brain was in. Deeply concerned that a mysterious individual might have already attempted to take his life, Anna decided to hide Jonas inside a secure warehouse and carefully coordinated for him to undergo the medical scan he so desperately needed. After some time, he returned with a hospital gown and a wheelchair so Jonas could leave confined and in a discreet manner. Disguised, they managed to reach the medical equipment room without obstacles. At that moment, Jonas noticed that many thin, filamentous lines surrounded the machine. With Anna's protection, they soon received the results. The structural integrity of Jonas's head appeared to be in a completely normal condition, showing no signs of cerebral congestion. Yet, within the tomography results, Anna discovered something truly deeply surprising. The shape of the skull appeared to have undergone prior intervention, in addition to metallic devices that were implanted within its interior. Although she could not say exactly what it all meant, she sensed that this was not something natural, but that someone had deliberately placed those devices there inside her head. Jonas began to suspect that the mysterious element might be related to his resurrection. He remembered that, during the hospital surgery, the doctor found an unknown metallic component in his skull and removed it. That gave him an important clue, and he asked Anna to help him locate that object. So, they both headed clandestinely to the warehouse where the hospital's medical waste was stored. they finally managed to locate the bag of surgical waste from the day everything happened. After some effort, they succeeded in finding the metal component, which looked like a small electronic device with a strange symbol engraved on its surface. Although they had never seen it before, they decided to begin investigating that mysterious symbol to understand exactly what it was. But before they could even start that search, a new event suddenly occurred. As they departed from the waste facility, they were suddenly intercepted by 3 police officers who attempted to arrest them immediately, leaving them entirely perplexed. In that very instant, the killer dressed in black appeared unexpectedly, having been relentlessly pursuing Jonas for quite some time throughout the long ordeal. Jonas reacted quickly, taking his girlfriend and fleeing outside. Together, they climbed over the iron fence. But before they could get away completely, the killer came straight for Jonas. Ready to fight to the end, he braced himself to face him. Immediately after that moment, a driver emerged from her vehicle without offering any resistance. Jonas was surprised and struck by that enigmatic woman. Anna, who was outside watching from the fence, witnessed the whole scene with extreme anxiety. She could only watch helplessly as that woman dragged her boyfriend to the car and drove him away, leaving her without the possibility of intervening. Soon after, the same woman drove Jonas to a secret facility. Several of her accomplices dragged him from the car and took him into a room where they strapped him to a capture device. Jonas felt a vague and deeply uneasy sensation that something truly ominous was about to happen. At that precise moment, someone pushed a button. A powerful electric current instantly surged with great force throughout his entire trembling body. For an average person, a shock of that magnitude would be instantly fatal. However, Jonas experienced only extreme intensity in his sensations, with no danger to his life. Even under the stimulus of that charge, he seemed to display an even greater strength. As the current gradually intensified, the birthmark on his side turned a brilliant red and his strength began to slowly surge. In an instant, Jonas easily managed to break free from the harness that had held him trapped. The supervisor, reacting with great speed, pressed the alarm button located right beside him. In immediate response, a loud siren blared throughout the area, and all the entrance doors of the hidden building locked shut. Yet, those physical barriers had no effect on Jonas. He advanced through a passageway and, with force, destroyed the iron door with his own hands. The enigmatic woman who was running in his direction could not reach him. She could only watch helplessly as Jonas entered the passageway and managed to escape. However, that group of mysterious individuals had already foreseen that strategy and had previously blocked the exit of the passageway. Despite this, they underestimated the power of Jonas, and he split the solid iron chain holding him in two. That slight delay, however, meant the masked woman finally managed to catch up with him. As he stood surrounded by her overflowing energy, Jonas felt no fear whatsoever. He trusted completely and fully in his own power. But what the woman asserted next left him paralyzed and completely motionless. She solemnly guaranteed that all of them possessed hidden superpowers, and that this sudden kidnapping did not seek to harm him at all, but rather to fully awaken and activate his extraordinary, dormant potential. Despite those words, in that dangerous situation, Jonas did not believe his promises at all. Jonas, without hesitation, quickly fled the hidden facility and decided to investigate the truth of such claims on his own. After his escape, Jonas returned to the social services center where he had previously lived. There, in secret, he consulted the files and discovered information about his own history. He learned that he entered that welfare center at the age of just 2 years. During that same period, he underwent an operation on his head due to a still unknown illness. Furthermore, that information certified that, at that moment, an electronic component had been implanted in his head. Jonas suspected that this mysterious object had been grafted into him on that very date, although the records did not indicate the reason for that operation on such a young child. To uncover the truth behind that conspiracy, he had no choice but to contact those involved back then and conduct his own investigation. Luckily, the files included the surgeon's original signature. Without delay, Jonas called his girlfriend Anna and asked her to find out the doctor's name. Trusting the hospital system, Anna managed to locate him and sent the current address of his residence to Jonas. With that information in hand, he began preparing to leave. However, Anna, worried about the danger of that mission, decided to accompany him. But both were unaware that a secret group of watchers was observing them in silence. Recently, the police received reports regarding the alleged deaths of 3 members of an unknown group, and they immediately launched an investigation into the matter. Although they could not identify the masked person who committed the murders, cameras captured the figures of Jonas and Anna, considering them suspects in that context. On the other hand, Jonas had already arrived at the location where his target was found. Distrusting Anna, he first sought out the doctor and asked several questions. After finding him, he obtained details about her past surgery and delved into her inner self. The doctor recounted what happened back then. Jonas suffered from an unusual, medically unknown illness that accelerated his growth and boosted his strength far beyond normal levels, making him truly unlike anyone else. However, that excessive growth meant his bones could not support the weight, causing intense pain throughout his body. The doctor had never seen a case like it and tried to use every possible method, but without any success. Hearing this, Jonas quickly asked whether he remembered where that clinic was, but the doctor hesitated. He could not even recall the lead surgeon's name at all. The only thing he could confirm, though, was the confidentiality agreement they had signed back then. The doctor stood up to look for that document, while Jonas remained in the room, looking out the window. Suddenly, he noticed several mysterious black cars parked right below the doctor's apartment. At first, he thought it was normal, as many people park cars on the street. Before he could react, those men in black began a direct attack, and the scene turned into a tense, dangerous situation. Although the strength of Jonas far exceeded that of an average person, the ammunition used against him was not conventional at all. Jonas resisted for an instant, but then he lost consciousness and collapsed to the ground. Amidst the chaos, the doctor, an ordinary person, had already been struck down. When Jonas regained consciousness, he found himself in an unknown room. Someone had clearly rescued him, although no one else was nearby at that moment. With great care, Jonas scanned his surroundings and finally spotted a woman on the rooftop. She claimed her name was Eleanor and that she possessed extraordinary abilities. It was she who freed him from the chaos. According to Leander, Jonas's situation was an atypical case among superpower wielders. They called him a hider. He had a much more imposing build than normal people and a much more vigorous vitality. The most relevant point was that defects like physical improvement were only byproducts of his true aptitude. With the help of Leander, Jonas decided to activate his superpower for the first time. The explanation was so abstract that Jonas could not understand what exactly that ability consisted of. To have a clearer concept, Leander led him to a secret closed space where several people already awaited him. He instructed Jonas to activate his power and pay close attention to the wall in front of him. Though he did not fully understand, Jonas obeyed. Then he saw the currents of information around him forming a vast web across the wall, and he vaguely sensed that somewhere beneath that mesh there was a door. At that moment he understood the principle. Currents of information and energy blocked access to that opening, making it difficult for others to see or perceive it. As a hider, Jonas could easily pass through that energy network and touch the door handle. At that instant, a completely new and wide space opened up before him. Although it was still a warehouse, inside were several boxes, clearly the goals of Leander and his companions. The people waiting outside quickly entered and took the boxes out. At that moment, Jonas noticed an enigmatic pattern drawn on one of them. He instantly recognized it as the same figure on an electronic component he had seen before. Realizing it surely contained information related to him, he took the box without a moment of hesitation. After a few minutes, Jonas, Leander, and the others returned to the base. The crates they carried were filled with ancient objects and curiosities, but Jonas's box contained a bag with documents. However, Jonas did not feel disappointed. This reinforced his suspicion that there were things there related to himself. Just before he managed to inspect it, a mysterious figure emerged silently right beside him. Jonas immediately went on high alert, but he quickly realized that it was the very same woman who had abducted him only a short while before. That made him believe what she was saying was true, and he became willing to speak with her. A few minutes later, the two of them arrived at the side of the road. The woman introduced herself as Ed, a detective with extraordinary skills, specializing in investigating crimes committed by individuals who possess various special powers. She could heighten her senses and analytical skills. Ed explained that a baby was recently murdered. The scene suggested a hider was responsible. These beings are parasitic by nature and must periodically absorb adrenaline to survive their strange, predatory existence. After learning this, the Brotherhood, the organization overseeing the hiders, hired Ed to investigate the matter. She discovered that Jonas had fled the hospital where the crime occurred that same day, which allowed her to track down his current location successfully. Jonas felt helpless. It was pure chance that he happened to be a hider, but they also showed evidence indicating he was not responsible for the murder. Reviewing the photos Jonas took, Ed knew he had been sent to the hospital after falling from a building during the incident, and that his superpower activated after an enigmatic electronic component was extracted by the doctor. She observed the symbol on that component and became thoughtful. Then she told Jonas that only she could dispel his doubts. During that time, Jonas had to cooperate fully with Ed. At that instant, his subordinate, disguised as a beggar, approached slowly from another part of the street. When Ed was about to get out of the car to greet him, he saw a van stop abruptly next to that beggar. Jonas acted quickly. With his enhanced body, he easily jumped onto the back of the van and followed them to a mysterious building. He watched them go inside, then slipped in behind them too, but the moment he entered, he froze in place. Before him stood the symbol of that electronic component in the lobby. He realized immediately it could be the enemy's lair and became even more alert. Peering through the crack in the door, he saw several people inside the room watching him. A man dressed as a doctor appeared to be preparing an operation on the beggar. Jonas was certain there was only one enemy there. Before entering, he took advantage of a distraction to neutralize him, rescue the beggar, and then interrogate the doctor. He discovered that this place was the clinic where he had already been operated on before. During the interrogation, the doctor revealed even more surprising information. That illness Jonas suffered from was not common but inherited from his father. Only a prosthesis allowed him to mitigate his hyper ability and ease his pain. The most peculiar thing was that this illness only let him absorb adrenaline from someone of his own blood. Without it, he would die quickly. Upon hearing this, Jonas froze. For a moment, he understood something key. Instead of just being an investigation, he now realized those murders were linked to his father. The organization that had orchestrated them, the Brotherhood, had surely tried to trap him to absorb his adrenaline. But where could he find his father to confront him? The doctor explained that this disease also presented an inherited birthmark. Jonas showed the large scar on his side, confirming his suspicions. With that clue, he devised a way to locate his father. At that moment, the beggar mentioned having seen the exact same mark on an army lieutenant, whose age matched his father's age. Jonas quickly took the beggar and prepared to find the lieutenant. Upon exiting the building, they saw corpses everywhere. One of them was Ed, who was seriously wounded nearby. Jonas rushed to her side with great urgency. He was in critical condition and only managed to tell him to take the photo from his pocket and find someone named Berg. That person would help with the investigation. Then he blacked out. Jonas sent the beggar to take Ed to the hospital while he went off to find Berg. Once he tracked him down, Berg produced an album with photos of all the officers who had survived the war, and the beggar recognized the lieutenant there. Jonas, moved, could not contain his emotion. It was his father, with whom he had never had contact. What shocked him most was that this man seemed to be the mastermind behind everything and actually the killer. With that evidence, Jonas grew even more convinced that the lieutenant was the threat trying to get rid of him. He decided to return to the hospital to consult Ed, who had already recovered. Thanks to his connection to her, he could activate his superpower and track the lieutenant's phone signal, finally finding his hideout. Father and son faced off and stared face to face, but Jonas only felt resentment. He could not understand why his father, after so many years, was sending people to kill him. The soldier explained that he did it for survival. Jonas, deeply disappointed, did not hesitate to take action against him. Ed, with his sharp hearing, perceived a baby crying on the upper floor. They went up quickly, and there they found several men in black surrounding a baby in a strange ceremony. Although Ed did not have all the details, something was clearly wrong. Without wasting time, she took the baby and they began their escape. The men in black, noticing their action, chased them and trapped Ed in a dead end. Not knowing the place, she jumped out the window. Jonas, who saw her, ran to help, but he was restrained by the men in black. Fortunately, as an enhanced being with superpowers, Ed was not hurt and managed to escape. When they saw the ritual failing, the attackers released Jonas and fled quickly. Later, hidden away inside a secret room, several men dressed in black were quietly discussing their upcoming next steps. And so, this entire series finally comes to a close. If you wish to watch more complete series here, I recommend these videos.